against a Swiss bank.
That's right. US Senate committee has accused Credit Suisse of helping as many as 19,000 customers to avoid paying tax in America. The report says up to 1,800 members of staff at the bank used practices including flaunting visa rules and holding secret meetings to recruit clients to open accounts in their bank, many of which were often undeclared to the American tax authorities. Now, a 2-year investigation carried out for the Senate committee found that Credit Suisse had 10,000 US accounts registered at an office at Zurich Airport. Now, at its peak, the bank's American customers held assets of around $12 billion. Many of those were hidden from US authorities. They're now pursuing 14 Swiss banks over tax issues. John McCain, the Republican senator, just one of those involved in this committee. He says that international financial institutions like Credit Suisse have profited from their offshore tax haven schemes while depriving the US economy of billions of dollars in tax. Now, that's the issue they'll be putting to the CEO of Credit Suisse when he appears before that committee later this Wednesday.
OK, very strong allegations indeed. Let's move on to taking a look at how things are going on the markets this morning.
Yeah, a fairly flat close on Wall Street didn't give the Asian markets much inspiration when they opened this morning. Let's have a look at the picture now. As you can see, the Shanghai Composite down in the red again, this after the 2% loss we saw yesterday. Continuing fears over the Chinese property sector not being helped by a further slide in the currency there. The Nikkei in Japan also down, just the Hang Seng and the Kospi in Seoul nudging slightly into the green.
OK, let's move on to a story that we've talked about quite a lot in recent months. A bit hard to get our heads around sometimes, perhaps. The virtual currency, the Bitcoin, and there are some new doubts about its future, aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin has exploded in value over the past year. It's now worth over around $500 each, a huge increase in value, but its future, as you say, in question after one of the major Bitcoin exchange sites used to buy and sell the virtual currency went offline yesterday. Mt. Gox disappeared amid allegations that some $300 million worth of Bitcoins had gone missing. Now, the Bitcoin isn't regulated by any government or central bank authority. This latest crisis casting doubt over its future stability. Catherine Viette has more.
It's the Wild West of currency, and now an apparent massive theft has shaken consumer confidence. But many still believe technologies like Bitcoin have a future.
Any currency is only as good as the trust that people put into it. And even though the technology of Bitcoin is excellent, I think the level of faith that people have in it, especially because of the volatility that we've seen in its value, that has to calm down a little before people start to say, hey, this is actually better than PayPal or better than Visa.
Some analysts say growing pains are to be expected with new technologies, and the collapse of the Mt. Gox exchange will weed out the bad actors.
Either the Bitcoin community will convince us that it's a one-off and a new form of maybe partially regulated exchange can solve these problems and take the good and get rid of the bad, or people will start losing faith.
Nearly everyone believed more oversight was in Bitcoin's future.
I think what we'll see from this is that governments will try and enforce some kind of regulation because, as we've discovered, there's around $350 million worth of Bitcoins have been stolen, so that's a lot of money to go missing.
Despite this recent crisis, trading is still strong, with one Bitcoin equivalent to $500.
There we go, alarming times for Bitcoin investors. Stephen, run us through some of the other top company news.
Yeah, we'll start with Airbus, which has just published its 2013 results for the full year. Revenues at the aerospace giant up 5% to just over 59 billion euros. The company earned 1.5 billion in net profit, up over 20% despite a series of accounting charges. It's to pay a dividend of 75 cents per share. The Spanish oil company Repsol has accepted $5 billion in compensation from the Argentinian government over the seizure of its subsidiary YPF. The payment, to be made in government bonds, is over Argentina's nationalisation of YPF, 51% owned, of course, by Repsol. The move in April 2012 had sparked international outrage from Spain and its EU partners. And the battle to buy French mobile operator SFR is heating up. Reports in the French media say its rival Bouygues could be interested in merging with the network. It comes after SFR's parent company Vivendi confirmed it had been approached by the broadband operator Numericable over a potential deal to buy the mobile business.
Right then, Stephen, I do love a nice mystery, and you've got the resolution of a big mystery in the financial world.
Yes,
Do tell us more.
The mystery of Wall Street. The mystery, this was to do with the Goldman Sachs Twitter account called Goldman Sachs Elevator Gossip. It was meant to be perhaps parody comments of what you'd expect to hear in the lifts at the Wall Street Bank. The account came to prominence with some 668,000 followers because of particular comments, such as, I'll give you a couple of examples. One, I already know I'm going to hell. So at this point, it's go big or go home. The other one that we saw is that you shouldn't retire until your money starts making more money than you made in your best year. So really typifying some of those comments that, of course, make the bank so controversial.
That's exactly what we think big bankers say, really, isn't it?
Exactly. Now, Goldman Sachs had been trying to find out who was behind this account since 2011 when it popped up. They presumed it was an employee, but in fact, the New York Times has revealed that it is not somebody who's ever worked at Goldman Sachs. A man called John Lefebvre. He used to work for Citigroup, another big bank in the United States. He lives in Texas. He's the one who's been behind this account, which he says he began as a joke. Now, in response, Goldman Sachs has said, "We are pleased to report the official ban of talking in elevators has been immediately lifted." So,
that's good.
Tongue-in-cheek from the response from the bank themselves.
People can stop taking the stairs at Goldman Sachs. Excellent. Thanks very much, Stephen Carroll, with a roundup of the business news. Back a little bit later on with more. We're going to take a look now, though, at what's grabbing the headlines here in France with our press reviewer, Florence Villeneuve. Hello.
Hi, Gavin.
We're going to start off here in France with some bad news about the economy.
That's right. It's a